On this Monday night, a stunning resignation.
On the Trans Mountain Pipeline?
Justin Trudeau's top advisor and longtime ally steps down in the wake of the SNC-Lavalin affair.
For him to resign means that this scandal is extremely serious.
But is it enough to take the heat off the Liberals? We've got a special Monday at issue.
Real mad and sad also, very sad, because I know Haiti could be better.
Anger simmers in Haiti after days of violent protests, concerned now about what comes next. We're on the ground in Port-au-Prince. Sting returns to his roots for his Canadian theatre debut.
You have to come to terms with the ghosts you left behind. So really, it's a search for myself.
A candid conversation with Sting. This is The National.
We begin tonight with a political shocker, the second high-profile resignation because of the SNC-Lavalin affair, and this one strikes the very core of the Prime Minister's office. Gerald, Trudeau's principal secretary, has stepped down over allegations he or someone in the office tried to pressure former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to intervene in the criminal case. Butts vehemently denies those claims. He is leaving anyway because he fears he has become a distraction. We'll look at where his departure leaves the government. But first, Katie Simpson starts our coverage with the announcement that took Ottawa by surprise.
Katie Telford and Gerald Butts, my friends and compatriots, thank you for what you've done.
Gerry Butts has been by the Prime Minister's side from the start. So trusted as Principal Secretary, Justin Trudeau has said when Butts speaks, he speaks for the Prime Minister, making this resignation all the more shocking. In a statement, Butts adamantly denies allegations he or his office pressured the former Justice Minister to end the prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. But the fact is that this accusation exists, he wrote. It cannot and should not take one moment away from the vital work the Prime Minister and his office is doing for all Canadians. It is in the best interests of the office and its important work for me to step away.
I, of course, will miss him personally, as will all of those who surround the Prime Minister every day and all of those who carry on this work.
For him to resign means that this scandal is extremely serious and the government appears to be covering up the truth.
Butts is now at the center of the SNC-Lavalin affair. Nearly 2 weeks ago, the Globe and Mail reported Jody Wilson-Raybould was pressured by the PMO last fall to kill the court case against the Quebec engineering giant. Trudeau has repeatedly denied that.
The decisions she makes as Attorney General, particularly in this matter, are her decision, and I was not directing or pressuring her.
An ethics investigation and a Justice Committee probe have already been launched, and with Butts' resignation today, the NDP is calling for more.
What we're seeing now is something that looks like a pretty surprising potential admission of guilt. And at this point, we are bolstering our argument for a public inquiry.
The Prime Minister meets in person with his cabinet tomorrow. It's the first time since losing a star minister and now his closest advisor. Justin Trudeau's inner circle needs to stop the political bleeding, but that won't likely happen tomorrow, since Trudeau will face scathing demands from the opposition for transparency in question period. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
There are few positions in government as powerful as the one Gerry Butts just left. The right-hand man, Trudeau's political confidant, along with Katie Telford, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, the trio formed the center of decision-making for this government. But Butts is more than that. Justin Trudeau also describes him as one of his best friends, though their backgrounds could not be more different. One, the privileged son of a prime minister, the other, the son of a coal miner in Cape Breton. From their time as students at McGill to Trudeau's wedding, Butts was with Justin Trudeau from the moment he decided to run for Liberal leader. He's been a constant presence and a key architect of the campaign that propelled the Liberals to victory.
We've taken a team approach from day one. The leader of it has done a phenomenal job, and that's Justin Trudeau. So we're very proud to work for that man tonight.
Trudeau has always seemed aware of how much he owes Butts.
Katie and Jerry are two of the smartest, toughest, hardest working people you will find anywhere. They share with me the conviction that politics doesn't have to be negative and personal to be successful.
From then to now, Butts has been central to the Liberal government. He helped craft the narrative, the story Liberals wanted to tell Canadians, pushing the government's signature Canada Child Benefit and carbon tax. Butts has also been described as Trudeau's safety blanket, his enforcer on Twitter and in caucus. Critics called him the puppet master, the brains of the operation, the Liberal most willing to publicly pick fights on wedge issues.
I think that people have been underestimating Mr. Trudeau since before he was in public life, and I think it will probably continue. I think he's done a truly remarkable job.
Which is part of why the Prime Minister today thanked him for his friendship, and why no one here thinks Gerald Butts is going too far from the Liberal Party. As for the actual investigations into this whole affair, the SNC-Lavalin controversy, tomorrow the House of Commons Justice Committee will meet again to debate on other possible witnesses in its probe. Last week, the Liberal majority voted down calls to have some key players testify, including Jody Wilson-Raybould, Gerald Butts, and other senior members of the Prime Minister's office. So all eyes will be on that committee tomorrow afternoon. So there's a lot to watch for and there's a lot to ask. Is this enough to take some pressure off the government? Or does this just delay the pain until Jody Wilson-Raybould finally speaks, if she speaks? And a lot for At Issue to tackle. Andrew Coyne and Rob Russo are here for a special edition that's coming up in a little over 10 minutes. Lots to talk about, Ian. Stay tuned. I know you will.
And now, Rosemary, let's turn to Haiti, another big story, and people there were bracing for more violence today. Instead, the capital seemed a picture of calm, and businesses and offices were finally able to reopen after 11 days of anger and protest. But make no mistake, Haiti remains a nation in upheaval. As Paul Hunter found out in Port-au-Prince, today's relative peace isn't likely to last.
The streets of Port-au-Prince seemed almost normal today, but get just below the surface and the underlying anger jumps out. Check the scratched-out face of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse and the still barely passable roads where rioters last week fought to push him from office. What I want is for the president to resign, this man told us. He's a school teacher. His nearby classrooms today sat empty. His students at home this week over fears of renewed violence here, as Haitians rise up against a government accused of corruption. Their country, among the poorest in the world, saw many hundreds of millions of dollars meant to help turn this place around, misused and lost. At a hospital across town, evidence not just of Haiti's desperation, but also of its determination to now stand up against the government. 3 of the 4 patients here suffer gunshot wounds. And right next door,
so this one is one of the victims of the violence, in the country. So he got both legs fracture in both legs, gunshot wounds.
The gunshot, said the man, came from the police while he demonstrated. They were shooting at us, he says. We didn't do anything to them. We were just standing up for our rights. Meanwhile, the hospital itself seems on life support. The place is running low on oxygen. In the medicine room, they need medicine. Shelves that should be stocked sit like this. And in the blood lab, guess what?
We need everything. We need O positive, we need A positive, we need B, we need everything. You can go to the fridge and you will see.
Indeed, in the fridge, just 4 bags worth, and each is already spoken for. The only real choice left for Haitians, we were told, is to now stand up and push hard for a better country.
We have to fight for the change, you know?
But lost on no one the truth that change, if it ever comes to Haiti, always comes slowly. Amid those sidewalk vendors today, that's right, it's leftover rubble from the earthquake 9 years ago. Is it any wonder Haitians are so frustrated by everything?
We're mad and sad also, very sad, because I know Haiti could be better. We could be a lot better than that.
And Paul joins us now from Haiti's capital. We were expecting big protests today, Paul. Why didn't that happen?
Yeah, well, no one really knows. I mean, the government's now promising to cut spending. Maybe that's a factor, but everyone we talked to today said they don't really believe that. You know, it's just talk. Still, they were grateful for another day of normalcy. I mean, the Canadian Embassy reopened today for 3 hours. That's a good thing. But don't forget, the underlying issues remain. People are angry and are demanding real change. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Paul. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when things started to go so desperately wrong in Haiti. After all, the country has lurched from crisis to crisis for decades. Chronic poverty to foreign interventions to military coups. But the roots of this political crisis are more recent. Here's the brief on a turbulent decade. The world poured billions into Haiti after the 2010 earthquake, Canada alone sending $440 million in immediate emergency relief. But much of the money meant to rebuild the country can't be accounted for. Haiti's next government, mired in accusations of deep corruption, also did little. And after the disastrous 2015 election, widely seen as fraudulent and which unleashed months of political chaos, Canada started backing away. Jovenel Moïse came to power in 2017 with little popular support or apparent ability to improve things. And Haitians have seen the opulent mansions being constructed for the rich. So when accusations surfaced that billions of dollars set aside to buy discount fuel from Venezuela had been stolen, well, things exploded all over again. And this time, international donors may be much more careful with their money going forward. One last note on the Haiti story tonight, and it's a happy one for the families of those Canadian nurses now safely out of the troubled country, including Catherine O'Neill, one of those who landed in Montreal earlier tonight.
We were very happy to be where we were, taking care of the people we were with. I think that all 8 of us nurses have left a little piece of our heart back in Haiti.
Gracious even after a long ordeal. And a little later in the show, we're there the moment one of those nurses' husbands finds out that she is safely on the way out. Stay with us for that.
Britain's main opposition party was rocked by a mass exodus this morning when 7 Labour MPs staged a dramatic walkout. They say they quit over the party's handling of Brexit. But as Kayla Hounsell tells us, even more disturbing is their allegation the party is rife with anti-Semitism.
British parliamentarians can't agree on much lately, but at least for today, this group was united on one thing. They can no longer stand with their party.
This has not been an easy decision for any of us. We've all been Labour members of Parliament for very many years.
And with that, 7 opposition Labour MPs walked away. They haven't created a new party, at least not yet, pledging to sit as an independent group, citing anti-Semitism.
I am leaving behind a culture of bullying, bigotry, and intimidation.
And that ever-present issue in British politics, Brexit.
I'm furious that the Labour leadership is complicit in facilitating Brexit, which will cause great economic, social and political damage to our country.
During the 2016 referendum, Labour campaigned to remain in the European Union. The 7 MPs who left Labour today are all in favour of a second referendum and say Corbyn's opposition to Brexit has been weak. Corbyn released a statement saying he's disappointed, going on to say the Tories are bungling Brexit and that now more than ever is the time to bring people together to build a better future for us all.
What this does is further fragment opinion in Parliament.
It all comes at a time when Prime Minister Theresa May is struggling to get her Brexit deal approved. This political scientist says the 7 MPs themselves won't change the course of Brexit, but their actions might.
One thing I think we will now discover is whether this emboldens other MPs, particularly some Conservative MPs, to be more willing to vote down a no-deal Brexit.
The new independent bloc did appeal directly to other MPs to cross the floor today, saying politics is broken, but there is an alternative. And those who watch politics closely here say with Parliament in such disarray over Brexit, there just might be appetite for something new. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, London.
Now, British MPs will have another vote on Prime Minister May's Brexit plan. That'll happen Wednesday. So she is sending her ministers across Europe to try to get more concessions in the hopes this time the House will vote in favor. Britain is set to leave the EU on March 29th.
Here are some of the other developing stories that we're watching tonight on The National. A convoy of about 80 trucks from Western Canada are making their way to a rally on Parliament Hill tomorrow, dubbed the United We Roll campaign. Organizers are calling on the government to support the energy industry by building pipelines. They'll be merging with another group from the east before heading into Ottawa. They want to speak directly with the Prime Minister. Huawei founder Ren Zhengfei is speaking out about the arrest of his daughter, company executive Meng Wanzhou. In an interview with the BBC, he says the move was politically motivated and added that he, quote, objects to what the U.S. has done. Meng was arrested in Vancouver in December at the request of the United States. She was charged with bank and wire fraud, allegedly violating the American sanctions against Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump calling on the Venezuelan military to allow humanitarian aid into the country and also to back Juan Guaido as interim leader. This as international pressure ramps up for the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro to step down.
We seek a peaceful transition of power, but all options are open.
Canada and the U.S. are among the dozens of countries that have thrown their support behind Guaido.
Ahead tonight on The National, At Issue tackles Gerald Butt's sudden resignation. Why quit if he did nothing wrong? Where does this leave the Prime Minister? Andrew and Rob Russo are straight after the break.
And who's teaching teenagers about the dangers of vaping? Why some students are taking matters into their own hands.
And later, The National gets personal with Sting. He talks about his new musical in Toronto, his hometown, and fatherhood.
How does that affect your relationship with your children? Your son's a musician, one of your daughters is a musician.
You have to ask them. You know, I'm not sure how good a parent I am at all.
It may look like the same old place after a thorough house cleaning, but it's not. At a cost of $5 million, the expanded chamber has entered the television age. It's a technical triumph for the crew who created the broadcast system in half the time the experts considered minimum. They've met today's deadline so effectively, the casual observer will hardly notice the change, at least until he begins to perspire under the hot new lights. These, incidentally, aren't your real MPs, but a group of interested volunteers who sat in when the system got its first trial late yesterday. The 4 automatic cameras are inconspicuous, and even the 4 that are manned for the time being are almost hidden behind curtains. But behind that, the setup looks like your neighbor's garage. Next year, the control room will be moved into a hidden gallery high above the house. But right now, the hands that run the system are in cramped and temporary basement quarters. In here, they choose which of 8 possible pictures will go into Parliament's permanent record and be available to TV outlets for broadcast. There'll be carefully controlled close-ups of the members speaking. Other members, dozing or heckling or chatting or absent, just won't be shown. That could be considered unfair comment or editorializing. In the midst of another shambles in a building some 200 yards away, the sound and picture are recorded. Jammed amidst their tapes and wires and storage cartons are about half of the 30 new people who run the whole recording system. It's here that your television station or network will find the particular question or answer or speech clip it chooses to broadcast to the public. Some think it will change the very way that Parliament works, making performers out of members and TV drama out of serious debate. Likely not, but at the very least it will drastically change what Canadians see and know of the system that governs them.
Mr. Butts is a very important figure in the government, so his departure, of course, will be missed.
For him to resign means that this scandal is extremely serious, and the government appears to be covering up the truth.
What we're seeing now is something that looks like a pretty surprising potential admission of guilt.
Just some of the reaction to today's political stunner. As we've been telling you, the Prime Minister's principal secretary, Gerald Butts, has stepped down. He says that he denies pressuring Jody Wilson-Raybould on the issue of SNC-Lavalin. So why resign? And what kind of hole does this leave in government? It's only Monday, but you better believe that we called in at issue for this one. Andrew Coyne, we tracked him down in New York tonight. And Rob Russo, CBC's bureau chief, is with me here in Ottawa. Okay, let's start with that part of the letter. I'll start with you, Andrew. It says very clearly he didn't do anything wrong, but wants to leave to take some of the, I guess, the pressure off the Prime Minister's office, defend his reputation on his own. Is that how that message will be interpreted by Canadians at large, that this is sort of over because Gerald Butts has left?
No. Look, this is an earthquake. You don't lose somebody as central to this government, as close to this Prime Minister, over a momentary problem or a public relations issue, et cetera. I know there's some grumbling in caucus about the way the government's been handling this, et cetera, but that's not enough to precipitate this kind of action. The only reason this would be happening is if they're anticipating extremely bad news. I'm struck by a couple things in his letter. One is the defense of his own personal, saying he personally had been accused. I have not seen that publicly. I've only seen references to unnamed officials in the Prime Minister's office having been accused. And secondly, his insistence on what a close relationship he had with Jody Wilson-Raybould.
So it's an attempt, Rob, then to move the issue just further away from the Prime Minister's office then?
Yeah, I think Andrew's right. I don't think it'll have that effect at all. I think the short-term effect is to reinforce the notion that this is a government that is in some cantankerous disarray and has had a miserable first 7 weeks to 2019, beginning with the firing of John McCallum and now ending up with the departure of Justin Trudeau's best friend of 3 decades and the man who charted his ascendancy to power beginning some 15 or 20 years ago at the funeral of Pierre Trudeau, when he helped write the eulogy for his father. So, I mean, the word bombshell does get tossed around rather easily in this town. This really is a tectonic development.
Except if we were to compare it with, and it's not an apt comparison, but if we compared it with the Nigel Wright leaving Stephen Harper after admitting that he had given that $90,000 check to Mike Duffy, there was an admission of guilt, walked away, and it allowed Stephen Harper to sort of say, not my ball of wax, didn't know anything. In this case, there's no admission of anything done wrong, and I'm going to have to take him at his word that he doesn't believe he did anything wrong. So it doesn't really help. I'm not sure how it helps the Prime Minister's office in any real way if you can't distance yourself from it. But yeah, go ahead.
What it does do is, if he's in that office, it's hard for him to be the public face of defense and an aggressive counterattack, even though Mr. Butts has never been shy. Anybody who follows his Twitter feed knows that he's an unusual principal secretary and that he has a very public face that way. But he will now be unshackled from his day-to-day duties and from any reticence of making public comments about what Jody Wilson-Raybould said. And as Andrew pointed out in his note, he said, I was the contact point for Jody Wilson-Raybould Jody Wilson-Raybould in that office. I was the one who dealt with her, so he will have questions to answer, but he also will have information to impart as well.
Okay, Andrew?
First point is Nigel Wright's departure certainly didn't take that issue away from the Harper government. No. They dealt with it right up until the election. It really hurt them badly.
That's true, yeah.
Secondly, as important as Nigel Wright was in that government, it is dwarfed by the importance, the relative importance of Jerry Butts in this government. This is absolutely a body blow to this government. Third thing is, Mr. Butts, if again, going by that letter, talks about defending his own reputation. So if we take that as meaning something, yes, he'll be freer to talk about and defend himself. But he would not be acting, it seems to me, on an issue as important as this without the Prime Minister's say-so and without the Prime Minister's involvement. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it seems to me unlikely. So that, even if he's able to deal better with defending his own reputation and his own conduct in that, that doesn't take this away, and certainly won't take the opposition's focus away from what was the Prime Minister's knowledge of this and how involved was he in this.
I never like to suggest that one person is so central to the government that it's going to fall apart. We know lots of smart people inside the Prime Minister's office, and certainly his Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, is one of them. But the relationship between these two people, the Prime Minister and Jerry Butts, I think was different. We tried to explain that a little bit earlier in the show in terms of their personal relationship. What would you imagine this departure would do to their strategy over the next few months, leading up to the election, or even the election? You know, maybe he will get involved, but for now, what do you think that departure will do? Andrew, why don't you start, and then Rob?
It's huge. Look, you know, Justin Trudeau may have many strengths, but nobody thinks he's the genius of this government. Nobody thinks he's the organizational or strategic genius of this government. Jerry Butts was very much the brains behind the Prime Minister, both in terms of the way he presented himself, his strategic positioning, et cetera. So to lose him at this stage with only a few months left to the election, granted, if he is proving to be a distraction or is going to be a distraction, it takes that away to some extent. But you're also losing an enormous reservoir of knowledge and background and knowing how the Prime Minister thinks and how he ticks and keeping him on board and keeping him stable in the face of huge pressures. This is a huge loss to the government and to the Prime Minister personally.
Rob.
Yeah, Mr. Butts was already deep into election prep, was talking to a lot of staffers about what they needed to do and how they needed to frame the election, was telling people, for instance, things like, if this is a multiple choice election, we're going to be fine. If it becomes a referendum on Justin Trudeau, we're going to be in trouble. So he was already trying to frame the election for people, deeply involved that way. Also, a lot of people thought that he was the ideologue, the incarnation of the Trudeau the younger, neoliberal. And with that gone, a lot of those ideas might be gone. But I'm old, and I do remember Bernard Roy, who was a very, very good friend of Brian Mulroney's, very, very tight chum of his, was Chief of Staff as well, left after some messiness, and Derek Burney came in and cleaned things up, and Mr. Mulroney's government went on to have some successes, notably on free trade. So you can pivot and move on.
Last question. We did 2 ad issues last week, Rob, if you were watching. Now we're on our first for this week. We're going to do at least 2 this week. Do you think that we are nearing the end of it or really ramping up towards something else? Andrew?
Not by any means, and not only on this issue. There's also the looming question of the Vice Admiral Norman trial, in which there have been allegations or suggestions that the Prime Minister's office and officials within that were too closely involved there. So that's also looming the horizon. I think the other issue that people could raise is it healthy to have a Prime Minister who is so dependent and so close to one person? Because there have been grumbling about some of the handling of the other issues, and with a more normal relationship between a Prime Minister and his Principal Secretary, you might have seen this parting of the ways come earlier. But when somebody is so close to you personally and you're so dependent on them, maybe you get to the point where you can't, unless things get really serious and really bad, you can't let go of them.
Rob.
It's all in the hands of Jody Wilson-Raybould now. If she wanted to wreak vengeance on her government, she has certainly done that. The government, as I said, is in some chaos. She has now managed to engineer the departure of the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister. If that's enough for her, she may say, I've inflicted damage, and that's enough damage if I want to stay a Liberal. If not, if she chooses to speak and speak in a more accusatory tone, this mushroom cloud is going to continue to billow out further.
Okay, well, I'll just be interested to see if Jody Wilson-Raybould shows up at work tomorrow. That'll be an interesting place to start. Thanks, everybody, for this Emergency Monday at Issue. Appreciate it. And if you want to hear more of At Issue, you can, of course, go to our podcast, subscribe, look for it on iTunes, any major podcast app, our website, cbcnews.ca/The National.
And next on The National, an in-depth, candid conversation with Sting. He opens up about his difficult relationship with his father and how his new musical draws on his working-class roots.
I sat in the audience a lot and watched grown men crying in the darkness because they recognized their story.
Pipes. Pour the beer. Beat the drums. The curlers have descended once again upon Winnipeg.
Like, Gordy, is this a bigger deal than the PC convention?
Tommy, this is the only big deal in town this weekend. There's 3,000 players that are going to go out there, and they're going to toil for about 4 days, most of them, and some of them will go on as long as 5 and 6. So it's important. It's important to Winnipeg.
The national media turned out for the PC convention last weekend, but to folks in Manitoba, it was a minor distraction from the main event in town, the annual MCA Bonspiel. The Bonspiel has to be what passes for the major social, athletic, and even cultural event on the prairies during the winter season. Bonspielers from right across the country gather together to drink a little, kick up their heels a little, maybe even get in a little curling. They regard these conventioneers as 3,000 extra unnecessary bodies, taking up valuable space in the city's bars, and nattering on about inconsequential matters like Joe Clark's leadership abilities. Whoa, whoa! Little wonder it's the world's biggest Bonspiel. Winnipeg has more curling rinks than anywhere else. A good thing, too, because just about any four-man rink with a $110 entry fee is welcome in this free-for-all. You don't even have to be particularly good at the game.
They get one. Why?
Case in point is the Keith McLeod rink from Dougald, Manitoba, starring Keith, his cousin, Murray, and buddies Willie Habing and Lloyd Pollardwer, all of whom have begged off work for the event. You'd wonder why these strapping lads wouldn't be out playing a real sport, like hockey.
Bad knees.
You got bad knees?
Bad knees.
What do you got? Bad liver, I suppose.
Yeah, starting.
They should start working on their game as well. The non-curler may have trouble figuring out this scoreboard, but our boys are down 10-3, the makings of a bad beating.
Our strategy was to swat them 7 or 8 and see if we could catch them.
Curling is shuffleboard in slow motion. Hard to understand why it's so popular in Western Canada. It's probably as good a way as any to pass the time between drinks. The idea is to slide a chunk of stone to a target down the ice. Grown men make like cleaning ladies to help it slide a little farther than it ordinarily would. The team that leaves the most stones near the center of the bullseye wins. The average team can get lucky, but at the end of a 2-hour game, talent usually wins out. Our heroes lose their first outing. Polite congratulations, then on to the main business at hand.
Let's go drink.
It takes organizations to shuffle more than 700 teams around town and keep them happy. Even if some teams are getting their brains beat out, in this spiel you can lose, 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 and still win something.
Everybody that's in the Bonspiel comes in on 2 sides. It's a double-sided draw. Okay. So your first game is in the Eaton event. Yeah. If you lose your first game, then you can lose the first games all the way through and drop right out after 4 games on that side.
I mean, if you lose 4 games, you're out of the ball game.
No.
You're not out of the ball game.
No, you're just out on the one side.
You're out on one side. There's another side you can get out of.
Then you've got to lose 4 on this side and go out.
I think I may have to go back to school and get my PhD in Bonspiel science.
We may have to go back to the beginning and start this all over again.
What do you do when you're not curling? In a Bonspiel like this.
Drink.
The thrill and excitement of curling may elude the non-player, but the game has plenty of cheerleaders to show us the light.
And so the camaraderie of 4 people getting together on a weekend of this nature and competing, and as you mentioned earlier, having a really good time and getting into the odd disco.
Ever since he became famous as the frontman for The Police, Sting has charmed fans with his eclectic pop songs, rock star good looks, and a keen intellect. He's at ease with the biggest stars, but as Sting himself says, eventually you have to go back to where you came from. His musical The Last Ship is now playing in Toronto, and for the first time he's starring in it. He opened up to our senior correspondent, Susan Ormiston, about the arc of his life and how his own working-class origins inform this labor of love.
What do we got from the arse end of the weather, where we work in horizontal rail and shiver in the cold? What do we got?
Sting plays a foreman in a shipyard about to be closed.
We got no else.
The Last Ship is a personal passion. He wrote all the songs and stars in the Toronto production. Certainly not his first performance here. Welcome back
Nice to be
to
back.
Toronto and Canada.
Very excited to be here.
You came, I think, to Toronto for the first time almost more than 40 years ago.
Yes.
1978 at the Horseshoe Tavern. And here you are, the young Sting.
I've got a compass around my neck for some reason. I don't quite know why.
Compass.
I was trying to find my way home, maybe.
Still.
We played the Horseshoe Tavern, we played a place called The Edge.
Here's The Edge.
The Edge, yeah.
Yeah.
2 Garys, then used to do the police picnic. We became adopted by the city.
I like this one, the police picnic.
So we have a long history with this town.
You do.
Ship will be ready to sail. Our ship will be ready to sail.
Sting's musical is forged from his upbringing in a shipbuilding town in England. It's about the dignity of work and what happens when that work disappears.
I think the themes of the play are resonant with a world situation, you know, where people are losing their jobs to automation or to abstract economic theories that excise the value of community. And that's happening everywhere. It's happening in the Midwest of America. I know it's happening here.
GM in Oshawa.
So the themes of the play are, you know, very topical.
So what does he do?
The reason we're here is we want to show our support and solidarity for your cause here.
Well, last week he took the cast out to Oshawa, where the GM auto plant's closing. They perform for workers about to lose their jobs.
We built battleships and cruisers for Her Majesty the Queen, super tankers for Onassis, all the classes in between. The greatest ship in tonnage the world has ever seen.
We live at a time where people with influence rarely poke out their head.
It's a master class in public relations for the union and for the rocker.
You deserve to be looked after better by the company that you've supported. It's very simple.
But Sting has the pedigree. He shaped his character in an industry town. Tell me a little bit about your history with Wallsend and Newcastle.
I was born within spitting distance of a shipyard. My earliest memories are the bows of giant ships towering over our house. I watched thousands of men walk into that shipyard every morning as a child. I'd watch the same men come back home every night and wondered as a kid, is this my destiny? There was very little else in the town to do. My grandfather had worked in the yards. My father had built turbines. And that was the last thing I wanted to do.
And yet you've spent the last decade of your life putting it back together and revisiting it almost every moment of your existence. So why?
It's almost a psychic debt I have to pay for the community that created me. The engine that drove me to escape came from this community. But in later life, you realize that, you know, like a salmon, you have to go back to your spawning ground at some point and make sense of the whole shape of your life. And you have to come to terms with the ghosts you left behind. So really it's a search for myself.
He said, you see these work boots in my hands? They'd probably fit you now, my son. Take them, they're a gift from me. Why don't you try them on?
Part of the search is an exploration of the fractious relationship between father and son, which is deeply biographical.
I studied hard at school, I got a scholarship, and I went to grammar school and was taught French and Latin and philosophy and history, and my dad wasn't very supportive of that, and because he wanted me to have a technical education, something he understood. Sometimes a father's love is misconstrued as being too controlling, and conversely, a son's ambition can just seem like a pie-in-the-sky dream. I was a dreamer.
These dead man's boots, though they're old and curled, when a fella needs a job and a place in the world, and it's time for a man to put down roots and walk to the river in his old man's boots.
Dead Man's Boots is about that troubled relationship, and when Sting and I talked 5 years ago, he told me more about his dad. He didn't get what you did in the beginning. Did he ever?
I think towards the end, begrudgingly, yes. We had the same hands, exactly the same hands, and I'd never noticed that before, and he was dying. And I said that to him, and he said, well, you used your hands better than I did.
It's not as if he spoiled me with his kindness up to then, you see.
And he'd never really paid me a compliment before, so it was kind of, the timing was pretty devastating.
I'm done with all the arguments, there'll be no more disputes. And you'll die before you see me in your dead man's boots.
His father's gone now, but at 67, Sting has his own family, 6 grown children, including a daughter, Elliot Sumner, who followed his lead, and Joe Sumner, also a musician.
I know that the spades are the swords of the soldier.
How does that affect your relationship with your children? Your son's a musician, one of your daughters is a musician.
You have to ask them. You know, I'm not sure how good a parent I am at all. So really, it's a question they have to answer. I've spent a lot of my time on the road. They've been given great privileges. But you know, whether or not I'm a good father or not, I don't know. Ask them. I try my best.
When they make decisions that you think are ill-advised, do you think back to your father and say, well, I got to let them run because look what happened to me?
I have to let them run. I trust them. I trust them. I have 2 musicians, 2 actors, a filmmaker, and my youngest wants to be a cop. Because he says, oh, you're all creatives, and he used the term pejoratively. I want to do something useful for society, and I'm totally in support of it.
The Last Ship first launched on Broadway in 2014, but Sting wasn't in it. Reviews were decent, and it was nominated for 2 Tony Awards, but the theater didn't sell out, and it was reportedly losing money. What happened on Broadway? It closed earlier than you wanted. You stepped in to revive the production there. What happened?
It's not an easy subject for a Broadway audience, you know, but a difficult thing. We're going to watch a play about out-of-work shipyard workers. Maybe not. And so I went in there to, you know, boost ticket sales, and we did. But I could only do it for a month because I had a tour contract with Paul Simon. And then we brought it back to England and played it in my hometown. It's sort of spiritual home, if you like. And then the Mervishes came to see it in Dublin, loved it, and said, you should come to Toronto.
So was a condition of this coming with the Mervishes to Toronto that you would star for its run?
I think so. Yeah.
And did you have to think twice about that? Because you told me back in 2013 there was no part for you. You loved being a producer. You wanted to hand it over to the actors, and
I did.
It didn't turn out that way.
But having played it and realizing that I could play it, that I knew this character, when I knew his conflict, I knew his weaknesses, I knew his strengths. And I'm very happy to be playing that right now. And so I'm glad I made that decision to say yes.
But you could have said, okay, tried that, had a limited run, going to leave it. But you didn't.
No.
You're reviving it. Why?
There's something really important in this play, a message for the world. You know, I sat in the audience a lot and watched grown men crying in the darkness because they recognized their story. And that's a very profound feeling to have.
Did you actually sit at the back of the theater in New York?
Yeah.
Frequently or all the time?
Every night. I watch the show every night.
From the back, in the darkness, nobody knew you were there?
No, it's a great feeling. And when you get a standing ovation, you think, yeah.
That feels good.
That feels really good. And we got a standing ovation every night.
You've changed it. Tell me how.
I think the play is probably more political now than it was. It was important to go to England when people actually knew the reality, the tough reality of that situation, to be more truthful to that. It's less sentimental than it was. It's tougher. You can take it.
think so.
The ship is sailing and will continue.
Perfect place to end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next on The National, teens teaching teens about the dangers of e-cigarettes, a new approach to a growing epidemic.
First, though, tomorrow night on The National, an in-depth look at the Mueller investigation. As the world waits to hear from the special counsel, Keith Bogue pieces together everything we know, from the key dates to the key players. Take a look.
The Kensington Wine Rooms in London's Mayfair has a small and accidental part in the story of Donald Trump's presidency. It was here that George Papadopoulos, a young foreign policy advisor to Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, met for drinks with the Australian High Commissioner Alexander Downer. In a rambling conversation, his tongue loosened by alcohol, Papadopoulos casually told Downer that he knew Russia had damaging information on presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and planned to release it in the final stage of the election campaign. And this is the first indication that anybody connected with the campaign has knowledge.
Has knowledge of emails that the Russians may have gathered.
This is the final scene as Canada's Bruce Johnson crossed the finish line last year to win the Yukon Quest. What had gone on before in the 14 days, 9 hours, and 17 minutes it took him to get here was all behind him. Last year's Quest race put all the mushers through their paces. Whiteouts, extreme cold, and heavy snow conditions were all obstacles. But this is what the Yukon Quest is all about. It's a personal test against the elements by the mushers and their dogs. The race is run between Fairbanks, Alaska and Whitehorse, Yukon. The start alternates each year. This year it's in Whitehorse. This is the start Saturday of the 1987 Yukon Quest. 36 teams left the gate, 4 of them Yukoners. Lorena Mitchell from Whitehorse is running for the 3rd time. She left the main street of Whitehorse in the number 14 position. Hans Otley from Whitehorse is running his first long-distance race.
Let's go, guys! Let's go, guys!
He left number 20. Francois Verriga from Dawson City has mushed across the Arctic and is now running his 2nd Quest. He left number 26. The Yukon veteran in the Quest is Frank Turner from Pelly Crossing. He's been in every Yukon Quest since it started. He left in the number 27 position. A lot of time, energy, and money has gone into preparing for this race. We should know in about 2 weeks which combination of musher and dogs winds up first in Fairbanks. This is the same street in Whitehorse last week. Mobile dog kennels were everywhere. Mushers from interior Alaska were in town several days before the start of the race for meetings and the traditional vet check. 20 of the 36 mushers are rookies, and it's a sport that's attracting more and more women each year. The favored Yukon contender is Lorena Mitchell. This year she expects to place in the top 10.
You can talk to all kinds of people that have done this before, but until you've experienced it firsthand, I think you underestimate the dangers.
All of the mushers have their own game plans and individual strategies as to how to run a 1,600-kilometer race. Pacing is all important.
But you don't really realize how tired you get after you go for 2 weeks without sleeping, because I have no trouble sleeping at home. I lie down and sleep. Once I get out on the trail, I can't sleep sometimes, And that's okay for a few days. You keep eating and drinking and whatnot, but pretty soon you start getting hypothermic because your body needs rest. And you might make a mistake that you wouldn't make otherwise if you'd been well rested, so you have to rest.
What sort of schedule have you laid out for yourself then on a day-to-day basis out there? Have you got a plan that way?
Yes, I do have a different schedule this time. I've trained my team faster than I had in '84, so I hope to be able to cover the same number of miles, less hours on the trail. And I talked about it with my lead dog. We both like to sleep a lot when it's dark, so we're going to do most of our moving by day and most of our camping by night until we see how the race is developing, in which case, you know, your plans may go out the window and you end up doing it whatever seems necessary at the time.
The race is made up of 7 segments with a checkpoint at the end of each leg. Mushers can start with a maximum of 12 dogs and a minimum of 5. Only 3 dogs can be dropped from the race. This puts a much greater emphasis on looking after the dogs in your team. Woodsmanship skills are also important. Between the checkpoints, mushers are totally on their own. The nature of the quest also lends itself to allowing mushers with a small budget to take part. People like Hans Ottley from Whitehorse, who this year will be racing in his first truly long-distance race.
You have to carry 165 pound, in my case, dog food, going out of Whitehorse, and you have to carry mandatory gear.
We're live on the National and following a developing story out of Calgary. A body has been recovered from a home leveled by an explosion on Sunday morning. Police aren't saying what exactly happened or who the victim is, but neighbors say the homeowner is out of the country and someone was renting it. The home is destroyed and at least 2 others are damaged. And on Newfoundland's west coast, the Trans-Canada Highway is now reopened following a massive pileup that sent 6 people to hospital. At least 15 vehicles, including 3 transport trucks, were involved. It's not clear what happened, but police say whiteout conditions and high winds likely played a role.
The U.S. Center for Disease Control calls it an epidemic, the growing and now unprecedented number of teens using e-cigarettes. New numbers show nearly 5 million middle and high school students reported using tobacco products last year, and that's up from 3.6 million in 2017. And research shows there's also been a spike here in Canada. It's become a big problem in schools across the country. So, as Karen Pauls shows us, some students are taking matters into their own hands.
How many chemicals are in a package of cigarettes and 1 cigar?
This grade 10 civic leadership class is practicing an anti-smoking lecture.
Do you guys really want this long?
Aimed at middle school students. Today, they're updating their presentation.
But what are we going to say? What's the message we want to get across to kids? Right?
They brought in an expert to tell them more about vaping or e-cigarettes.
There's 3 different kinds of vapes that we
Riley Farrell has been vaping since he was 13. Attracted by the cool factor.
Like you see dudes on Instagram blowing like O's and doing all these tricks and having huge clouds.
Attracted also by the youth-oriented packaging and marketing.
So when kids look at it, they think, I want that. It's no different.
Farrell admits he's addicted, even though he knows it can't be good for him.
If you guys are just chilling in your buddy's basement, you're all vaping, and one buddy gets too head rocked and can't hit anymore because he's about to pass out, that's nicking out, you know what I mean?
Nicotine aside, the Lung Association and Health Canada don't recommend vaping for non-smokers because it can increase exposure to harmful substances found in e-juice.
Because you're getting that shortness of breath and it's messing up your lungs from inhaling that.
You have emphysema.
Sydney Tuck hopes if teens hear this message from their peers, they might just listen.
I know if I go into a middle school, I'll see kids in grade 7 with a vape.
It's increasingly on Health Canada's radar. It released this video.
That it's so enticing to kids with the design.
Meanwhile, Farrell says parents should also be educating themselves.
If you go into your son's room and it doesn't just smell like cologne or something, it smells like Fruity Pebbles or like flowers in there, you're gonna obviously be like, hey, that's not his cologne.
Like other tobacco products, anyone under 18 can't legally buy e-cigarettes, but they're getting them from older siblings, friends, even parents, contributing to a new generation of nicotine addicts. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The moment is up next, and tonight it's a moment of joy for a family anxiously awaiting word from their loved one in Haiti.
That's the overwhelming news we wanted to hear. So, it's been hard.
We are prepared to withhold our services however long it takes.
With that announcement yesterday, the NFL players' strike was on, and the prospects for an early settlement don't look promising. The players' commitment to a strike was demonstrated again before last night's New York Giant Green Bay Packer game as members from both teams exchanged symbolic handshakes of solidarity to the jeers of the crowd, a gesture which has preceded most NFL games this year. The clock ticking away the final seconds of last night's match could mark the end of the 1982 season. Little progress has been made in negotiations between players and management since they commenced last February.
3, 2, rolling.
The key to understanding the dispute is television. To the American TV networks, the NFL means big money. So much so that last spring they agreed to pay the NFL $2 billion for TV rights for the next 5 years, the richest contract for any pro sport. The football players, who make less on average than baseball and basketball players, want a bigger slice of the NFL pie. The players are demanding half of that TV money. They want it paid out on a wage scale with incentives based on game performance. The NFL owners have rejected the players' proposals completely, charging that the union wants to take over the sport. To the average football fan, the strike poses a significant cultural void.
I'm sure there is something else in life after football. I'm not quite sure what it is because I've never been there in 25 years. It'll be a very, very difficult void to fill, I can assure you.
Can it really be all that bad? The U.S. networks, which are the biggest benefactors of the Sunday afternoon melodramas, promise not to leave their loyal fans in the lurch. One network, NBC, even has plans to broadcast Canadian football. To get a perspective on the issue, we asked New Yorker Joe Flaherty for his views of the strike.
From the somber tones of sportcasters and newspapers, one would think the National Football League strike was the equivalent of a breakdown in the SALT talks. A tragedy for the game, for the fan, a curse on both houses, that sort of thing. Nobody had the honesty to mention the bookies will suffer most. All it really means is most of addicted North America will have to find some other way to spend Sunday afternoon and Monday nights. Perhaps reading a book will come back into vogue, or love in the afternoon. Heavens forbid, paying attention to our kids. One realizes none of these pleasures compare with checking out thesauruses to divine what the hell Howard Cosell is talking about on Monday night. Also, we might concentrate on that most glorious of games, baseball, without interruption. Currently, 4 marvelous divisional races are being pushed off the airwaves and the sport pages by pigskin folderol. But alas, these pleasures are not to be. NBC has announced its intention of televising Canadian Football League games. I find this a serious breach of the good neighbor policy.
I'm actually trying out for cabaret.
And who, may I ask, is bold enough to scale this cultural monolith?
Jocelyn's actually directing for the community theater.
A group of Canadian volunteer nurses caught up in Haiti's political crisis are breathing easier tonight. They flew out of the country earlier today after 2 weeks effectively trapped by violent protests. Their compound was 60 kilometers from Port-au-Prince and its airport. The only safe way out was by helicopter. CBC News happened to be talking to the family members of one of those nurses earlier today when they got the good news that she was on the chopper. And that is our moment of the day.
What's that been like to just sort of been waiting, to be waiting by the phone like that? And there goes your phone again, yeah.
They see it.
Yeah.
That's the overwhelming news we wanted to hear. She's done this one time before and said that was a great experience.
How are you feeling now that you've gotten this news? She's on this helicopter.
Overwhelmed. We knew she'd be, I don't know, I kept saying all the time, she'll be safe, she'll be okay, it'll all work out, we've got to do what I have to do, and now it's coming to fruition, so pretty pleased. Tears of joy.
So, Rosemary, we know how the story ends. Well, but lots of twists before that, including the road to the airport. We were talking about this on the National last week. Too dangerous to drive, really. They needed a helicopter, as we heard. They went to GoFundMe and quickly raised more than it actually cost for the helicopter, which is terrific. And the extra money will go to their charity.
And when they were waiting for the helicopter, they had to put something down so they'd be spotted, and they planted a Canadian flag. And And that's how they spotted them. And you know, Ian, that was one of those moments like journalists dream about being there for that kind of moment.
I know lots of times when you, as you know, you're shooting in the field, you hear people say, oh, you should have been here 2 minutes ago. We just got this call. It would have been fantastic. So it was nice to see that actually play out.
And apparently Jaspal has to have champagne waiting for his wife. So hopefully he's on that tonight. That's the National for February 18th. Good night, everyone.
Good night.